Today's product review is going to be on two webcams that are very popular right now. I see them all over social media. One is the Mevo live stream cam, and then the other one is the Lumina, which boasts a 4K DSLR quality. We're going to get to that a little bit later. I'm purposely recording this off of my iMac, and the reason for that is mainly because of the Lumina, and we're going to talk about its connectivity issues, in my opinion, a little bit later. But before we do that, I do want to keep this as raw and as real as possible. I think a lot of these product reviews that you'll see online are done by professional bloggers that may not necessarily get paid to do the reviews, but they get all of their products for free. So, a couple of things here to be completely transparent. Neither one of these companies asked me to do this review. Neither one of them sent me their products for free. I paid for them just as you would pay whatever price you pay. I paid the retail price. I think I maybe found the Lumina on sale for the holidays for 20% off, but listen, I paid the same that you're probably going to end up paying as well. So this is a completely unbiased one, and I wanted to do it literally off of my iMac, not using my expensive cameras and lights. And I did this for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm using 3 different colored lights for this. Why? Because that's where most people's offices don't have professional lighting. So I've got colored lights in the background. I've got big white spots to confuse the camera. I'm wearing black, which you should never do on camera because it soaks up all of the light and then makes the face look weird. I'm not wearing any camera makeup, nor did I even shave. So I'm trying to keep this as raw as I possibly can to simulate a real-life environment. There's going to be 3 cameras that you'll see throughout this whole review for the most part, and the third one is on my iMac, which is what I'm looking at you through right now. And as you can see, the side-by-side to all 3, right now the iMac's looking pretty good, isn't it? But to be fair, both the Lumina and the Mevo have tons of visual settings that you can set things up in to get that perfect look that you're going for. I just reset both of them to their default settings, and this is what you get straight out of the box. Having said that, now that I've gone through the disclaimers, I'm going to let you know that we are going to be reviewing these cameras on 9 separate categories. Those categories are going to be video quality, audio quality, price, ease of use, ease of installation, color accuracy, facial tracking, all of their customizable features, and the quality of the background effects using these cameras that so many people love using on Zoom, which I absolutely hate and you should never ever use anyway, but I get it. People love to use their virtual backdrops. They're horrible, don't use it, but I understand that I'm fighting an uphill battle, so we're gonna put these two head to head. I'm gonna log into a Zoom with both of them. We're gonna use the stupid artificial backdrop so you can just see how well it does with keeping your head, and your hands, not deleting part of your head or your face or some of your hands. So, having said that, now you know how I feel about artificial screens. Nonetheless, let's get into it. Let's talk price. With regard to price, it's kind of a hands down winner if all you're doing is looking at budget and making it affordable. The Lumina is about $200, the Mevo is about $400, so you're paying twice as much for the Mevo. But I before you just sit there and go, well, I'm gonna buy the Lumina because it's more affordable, well, don't look at price as much as value, right? I mean, if the Lumina is twice as expensive but offers 10 times the amount of features, then your dollar per value is actually higher with the Mevo, not with the Lumina. But that being said, I know that a lot of people are just looking for a good, high quality webcam that's reasonably affordable. In that situation, you probably have to give points to the Lumina. It's only $200. The Mevo's $400. You can buy 3 Mevos, by the way, in a package set, which I really was not prepared to do just for a test drive. But I will tell you, I was impressed enough by the quality of their cameras that I kind of wish I might have bought the 3 for $1,000 and you can get 1 for half off. All right, let's talk about video quality. So as you can see, we have all 3 cameras recording right now. There are some different features and functions in both of them. You can adjust the quality of the color and the temperature on both of them. I'm going to start with the Lumina, so let me go down to my controls here. And you can see here, this is the Lumina control panel. It has auto exposure, auto white balance, and then this AWB red, AWB blue, so you can control your colors this way. Let me just get back that down to the basic one. There we go. And you can do the same with the blue. Interestingly enough, the saturation, I can't even find the controls for the saturation. You can change the exposure from auto to manual, and then you can turn it down or turn it up as much as you like. We're just going to leave that on auto. And you can do the same thing with the white balance. The white balance, you can adjust up if you've got a different color lights. If you know what lights you're using, you can set that to the, but I'm purposely using, like, I think this light here that the webcam is set up on, I think that's around 5,000. These are 5,600. So I'm just purposely trying to throw them off to get more of a realistic environment. Anyway, we're just gonna go back to auto on the white balance as well. Then you have the field of view. If you can see, by the way, one thing that I will say Lumina wins on, and it's because it's a 4K camera, is they have a massive field of view that they get to use so that when you're broadcasting, they can artificially zoom in like this, without losing any pixel quality whatsoever. So let me get down to the actual camera level here. So I don't know why you'd ever want to zoom in this much, but if you're doing some field work where you're walking in the background, you do want to be able to have this. So this is kind of a nice feature. In fact, to give you an example of this, let me just kind of cut back to the normal. So here's, in fact, actually, let me do this. I'm going to go back to the normal field of view. I'm going to go over to the Mevo now. Now I'm looking at the Mevo camera. I'm going to show you its zoom settings as well, so you can kind of have a side-by-side comparison, and show you all the lighting functions that has. So with the Mevo, the one thing that they have is they have an external set of controls. And so you have it set up through your iPad or through your iPhone, which allows you to use the zoom on that versus on the desktop that you might be using. So for example, in fact here, let me just throw this around and show it to you. Actually, no, I'm doing a screen capture. Don't have to do that, I can just show you later. So you can pinch and zoom to get the exact size that you're looking for. It has a real nice, subtle, slow zoom, slow in. It kind of accelerates and decelerates nicely well. That's kind of cool. That's the full-on zoom with the Mevo camera. So you can see it zooms in just a little bit more, but you are going to lose a little bit of quality because this is not a 4K camera, which I thought it was, and I looked all over the website. And Mevo, I apologize if you are a 4K camera, and I'm saying that it's not a 4K camera now, but I couldn't find anything on the website that said it was 4K. Having said that, you're rarely going to need 4K if you're just trying to get on Zoom and do some web camera work. If you're doing a 3-camera podcast, that might be more important, but even then, what do you need 4K for on a Zoom? I just don't think, at least right now, you don't need it. But nonetheless, you've got some good zooms. Now, here's a cool feature that both of them have, which is facial tracking. So we're going to compare face tracking side by side. So let me switch over to face tracking for the Mevo camera. All right, so now I'm on facial tracking for the Mevo. Let me set up my face tracking for this one, and I'll try to keep them relatively the same size so we have as fair of a comparison as possible. Okay, so now I'm going to step over here and we're going to see if it works. It's not working on the Mevo. Wait, did it work on the other one? No, I can't get either one of them to work. All right, I'm going to set up the face tracking on both of these here. So now I'm face tracking on both. Let me set them to about the same size as best we can here. That's roughly the same size, I think. No? The controls are a little bit tricky on the Lumina. I'm trying to figure it out. By the way, Lumina has this thing called Lumina Plus and Lumina, and I'm trying to figure out what the difference is between the two of them. Honestly, I don't know, but I'm having a hard time recording this whole review on the Lumina Plus, but now the Plus settings seem to be working, so a little bit weird. Anyway, I've tried to get this. It's real sensitive, right? Okay, that's about as close as I'm going to get. So let me tell you something that I don't like about facial tracking software is it usually puts the face right in the middle of the camera, as you're seeing with the Lumina. The Mevo is not doing that. The Mevo is letting my head space be exactly where I want it, which is very minimal. But nonetheless, let's try some facial tracking here and see where we go here. So at this point in time, you can see it's zooming over on both of them. I will say that the Lumina seems to be Actually now, earlier when I was testing this, the Mevo seemed to be going faster than the Lumina. Now I don't know. Let me see here. Actually, I don't think I was on face there. Let me go back to this. Hang on a second. I'm going to set it up again. All right, so now I'm on facial tracking. You can see it is not, okay, there we go. So now I'm going to move around and you can see that it's following me on both cameras. Oh, for crying out loud. What's the face tracking doing? Okay, I think I'm on face tracking now for both of them. We'll see how it works. I'm going to try to move off camera and see if it catches them both. I believe it is working. We'll see. The one thing that I'm not really a fan of on face tracking software anyway is that it tends to put the face in the middle of the camera. I think it's trying to do both of that. I'm not sure. I think Mevo may have lost my face there. I'm not too sure. But nonetheless, if you're walking around and you're doing some teaching, they can both do it. But it's sketchy at best. I don't know that it's great on either one, but nonetheless. Let's go back to the wide angle for both. I'll see if I can turn that cameraman plus down so it's not doing it anymore. All right, now let's talk about audio. Oh wait, I did not talk about the color controls for the Mevo, so let's do that to be fair, because you can see with the Lumina, we were relatively limited. We had basically the white balance and we had the exposure, which we could adjust. That's where I think the Lumina loses some of its function. But I will tell you this, it came with, and this is why I bought it, it came with this card and it demonstrated people holding it up on their camera and then it would adjust everything. I, for the life of me, cannot figure out how to get this thing to work. So we'll get back to that on usability later. But nonetheless, if we go over to the Mevo, you'll notice that there's quite a few different settings that we can have over here. So if I click onto the filter, it's much more robust in terms of everything that we can do. So we can click onto the exposure and we can manually change however dark or light we want it. Go to overexposure. Oops, go back to the face there. I'm going to go back to auto. I can find it here. I know it's somewhere around here. That's as bright as it goes. That's as dark as it goes. And somewhere there's an auto button in here. You can see it goes quite detailed. I'm just going to go back down to normal. You've also got shutter speed that you can change. You can also change the white balance. So if you know exactly if you're using tungsten lights or if you're using natural daylight, you can also set the exact lighting. So for example, I think this one is set right now. This is set on 5,000, so I can go directly to that temperature, and that's going to get me the best white balance. Now, keep in mind, the studio isn't at 5,000, so this is why I'm purposely trying to mess with this. So sometimes the auto works the best. There we go, back to auto. You can change your brightness, you can change your contrast, you can change your saturation levels, put in a little bit more color there. Oop, went the wrong way. So you're going to be able to create a much more, in my opinion, detailed setting with regard to the Mevo versus the Lumina. It's just got, in fact, it's got so many features on it, frankly, I don't know how to use them all. It also has preset filters as well. I think a lot of this stuff is unnecessary bells and whistles. I can't imagine why you would be doing anything like that, but you can customize everything. I think if you're a professional and you're looking for a really good high caliber live stream, your Mevo is going to give you much greater control over the camera. This theoretically is supposed to fix it with the Lumina, but I can't figure out how to get it to work. Excuse me. All right, let me go back and just set everything back up to auto on this one as well. All right, there we go. I think I'm on auto. I don't know at this point in time. Now let's talk about audio. So I am standing in front of my iMac right now, and this is the iMac recording the microphone. We're going to switch over to the Lumina. We're going to switch over to the Mevo, and I'm going to do it at several different distances so you can understand how it'll sound. I'm also going to be using a phonetic pangram, which is a sentence that includes all 40 of the phonetic sounds that the English language has. So you'll be able to hear exactly how these microphones interpret every phonetic sound that's out there as possible. So here's your baseline. I'll just read the first weird sentence and repeat it several times. The quick beige fox jumped in the air over each thin dog. Look out, I shout, for he's foiled you again, creating chaos. I didn't write that sentence. It's already on there. Anyway, that was on the iMac. Now let's switch over to the Lumina at normal video conferencing distance away from your laptop. That quick beige fox jumped in the air over each thin dog. Look out, I shout, for he's foiled you again, creating chaos. Now let's switch over to the Mevo. That quick beige fox jumped in the air over each thin dog. Look out, I shout, for he's foiled you again, creating chaos. All right, that's right up front. Now let's back up to about 5 feet. So if we were doing maybe a workshop, we had a flip chart, and we wanted to use some visual aids, or we're looking at a television, this is about how far we'd be, around 5 feet away. Let's go to the iMac again as a baseline. The quick beige fox jumped in the air over each thin dog. Look out, I shout, for he's foiled you again, creating chaos. All right, now let's switch over to the Lumina. That quick beige fox jumped in the air over each thin dog. Look out, I shout, for he's foiled you again, creating chaos. Now let's go over to the Mevo. That quick beige fox jumped in the air over each thin dog. Look out, I shout, for he's foiled you again, creating chaos. All right, now I'm going to go about 10 feet. So if you were at a boardroom table and you had several people, this is about how you'd be trying to get the volume across. So it might sound something like this. Here's the iMac. That quick beige fox, try that one again. That quick beige fox jumped in the air over each thin dog. Look out, I shout. He's foiled you again, creating chaos. All right, now here's the Lumina cam. That quick beige fox jumped in the air over each thin dog. Look out, I shout. He's foiled you again, creating chaos. Now let's go over to the Mevo camera. That quick beige fox jumped in the air over each thin dog. Look out, I shout, for he's foiled you again, creating chaos. All right, and now I'm going to go even further back, about 20 some odd feet. I can't imagine how you'd probably want to be using your webcam being this far away, but we're pushing these things to the limit. So here's the iMac. That quick beige fox jumped in the air over each thin dog. Look out, I shout, for he's foiled you again, creating chaos. That was on the iMac. Now let's switch over to the Lumina. That quick beige fox jumped in the air over each thin dog. Look out, I shout. He's foiled you again, creating chaos. Now let's switch over to the Mevo. That quick beige fox jumped in the air over each thin dog. Look out, I shout. He's foiled you again, creating chaos. All right, so now you can test the different audio. I will tell you, I've not had the opportunity to use the Lumina in a group setting. I'm going to be doing that this week, actually. I've already done it with the Mevo, and I will tell you it's been very good. I've had a room of 5 or 6 people in a boardroom, good 10, 15 feet away, and it worked really well as long as the webcam wasn't backed up against the wall. There was a little weird echo. So it was obviously doing some kind of spatial recognition in the sounds, and it was getting messed up. It was too close to the wall. But as long as I backed that off the wall, the sound on the Mevo was impeccable, and we never had any sound issues whatsoever. Okay, let's talk ease of use. Neither one of these get very good scores for ease of use. In a plug-and-play world where we're used to just getting something, pulling it out of the box, plugging it in, and letting it work on its own, both of these, in my opinion, failed pretty big. It took me forever to figure out how to connect both of them. I would have to say the Lumina was slightly easier for setup simply because I didn't have to install a separate app on my phone. That confused me with the Mevo before I realized that I had like this cool remote control. Now, I will say this, I actually love the feature of the Mevo having a remote control, because I can sit here and I can, especially if I had, for example, multiple scenes, I can sit there and I can create whichever scene that we want to go to. It's very quick, it's easy. I do like that. Especially if let's say I'm working with a group of individuals. In fact, maybe I've got somebody sitting in either chair here, right? So if I'm here and then somebody else wants to talk, I can just come right in and zoom in and goes right over to that chair. I can pull it over there, and it's very simple. I do like that because it's just pinch and zoom. It's very intuitive stuff that we're used to working on phones and iPads, as opposed to Lumina, which doesn't have that option other than the facial tracking. So you would just have to have it wide field of view and everybody would be there. So that's kind of a cool function on the Mevo that I did like. So while it was hard to get it figured out, it's kind of worth it, right? So I like that part of the Mevo. The Lumina, not as hard to figure out. I just basically had to install the software, and it was relatively easy. So I would say probably if I'm going to give points to one or the other, I'd say that the Lumina is easier to set up, but the Mevo has enough features that it's worth the pain in the butt getting it to set up. Now let's talk about ease of use. That was ease of installation. Let's talk about ease of use. The Mevo is a little bit fidgety. I gotta be honest. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's got some weird settings that I don't understand. Like if you're using the power cord and you're plugged into your computer, well then you can't record on Zoom. The only way you can use your Zoom recordings is if it's wireless and it's pulling up through Bluetooth, not if it's plugged in, which if you're doing long conferences, that could be problematic. Although I'll say this, the battery on the Mevo is amazing. It does last a good 4, 5, 6, 7 hours. It's pretty impressive. But what if you're not fully charged and you forgot? It could just be a little bit inconvenient from time to time. So I'm not really a fan of this whole, it's plugged in, it doesn't record, it's just a pain in the butt. Having said that, the Zoom does have the ability to record on the Mevo does have the ability to record on the Mevo through a micro SD slot. So you can put a micro SD card in there and you can record directly from the camera. That's kind of cool as a backup. I do like that. With regard to the Lumina, it's not Bluetooth. I think this is a major fail. And if it is Bluetooth, Lumina, I apologize. I couldn't figure it out. The only way I can get it set up is if it's actually plugged into the computer. And here's the problem with what I think was a major fail on Lumina's part. They give you 2 cords. Both of them are USB-C 3 to USB-C 3. One's a short one, one's a long one. So I guess if you're moving the camera a little bit distance, okay, fine, that's nice. But the problem is I think a lot of people that are looking for external webcams are looking for them because their laptop webcam is not doing the job that they want it to do, and that's probably because that laptop's a little old. For example, I have a MacBook Pro, but the thing's ancient. I think it's like from 2011. There was no such thing as USB-C 3. So I wanted to do this whole, like the reason I bought the Lumina webcam was so I could actually, when I'm on the road, plug in and use a really cool high quality webcam, but I can't do it with Lumina because I don't have USB-C 3. Now, I haven't tried an adapter. I would assume that an adapter will work, but come on, Lumina, send me the cable to a normal USB, not just a USB-C 3. I think that was a big fail on their part, and also the fact that it's not Bluetooth is a big fail. Let's charge it. That's fine, but then when it's charged, let me just use it wirelessly. I was really kind of shocked that I have to be plugged in. Doesn't seem very modern for a brand new webcam. Let's see here. In terms, so both of them. So ease of use. The Lumina is probably easier to use. The Mevo is a little bit fidgety. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I've had times where I was ready to use this in an important Zoom meeting and I couldn't get it to work. And that's very frustrating for me. So I probably have to say Lumina wins on ease of use, but Mevo, when it works really well, and that remote is just cool. That remote control panel is something else. I really enjoy that. Let's talk about color accuracy. If we could get this thing to work on the Lumina, I'm assuming that the color accuracy would be amazing. But I've got to figure out how to do it. And again, I don't want to have to figure this stuff out. I'm in the plug and play world. There's a QR code. So I go to the phone, I open up my QR code. It finds it. And what does it do? It pulls up to an Hoffman LCO2 IEC lifting device? What's that about? So let me try it again. Go to the camera, hit the QR code. So I'm literally looking at the QR code. You can see this right now. I'm on the webcam, right? So I hit, it says, there's that, I hit it, and it's pulling out to the Hoffman LCO2 IEC lifting device. Like, what's that about, right? Come on, it's the QR code doesn't even work to take me to the thing that I would assume would help me to colorize it the right way. But if you're looking for a lifting device, hey, this is great. There you go. So from a color accuracy, the Mevo is, and by the way, I will tell you this, when I'm not trying to purposely screw it up with a black shirt and white light and multiple colors, the Mevo camera is gorgeous. It's really got a lot of great color. It's rich. Once again, this is just the default, and I'm purposely trying to confuse it. So I'm going to give points to the Mevo over the Lumina for color. The one thing that I do want to talk about is lighting. And so I'm going to take these two cameras, we're going to put them in front of a window so you can see the difference here in a moment, because I think that's an important thing as well. We've talked about the facial tracking. We've talked about the customizable features. Now, I guess let's get into the quality of the background effects. I'm going to move this into my office where I've got a window, and we're going to be able to see how the cameras face up with really bright light behind them and not a lot of light in front of them. All right, now I have moved into my office. I've got the computers set up, like the cameras in the back of the corner, to capture the sunlight. So, interestingly enough, the Lumina brags about its ability to really be able to parse out the background and the backlight and blah, blah, blah. But I'm noticing just from the monitors that I'm looking at, the Mevo seems to be far better at capturing the color and the light of the windows, like the scenery out there, and the Lumina is almost blown out. And I've got, once again, everything is set up on auto. So let's start playing with a couple of different things here. So now I'm on the Lumina, and I'm going to change the field of view. Let me just zoom into my face. All right, so we can still see some of the background, but I'm pretty dark. Now let's take the zoom and let's try, or the zoom, why do I keep calling it the zoom? Let's go to the Mevo and kind of try to get a relatively similar grip. The camera's not quite where it should be for that. Let me see if I can come in here a little bit. So now, the Mevo though, I will tell you, not a lot of light in the face as well. So both of them have, and interestingly enough, I think the iMac is still doing pretty good. So that's with regard to just zero automated settings. I haven't checked with or made any kind of adjustments to the white balance or the backlight. I'll play around with that, and I can bring out a little bit of the color, but I'm still a silhouette on the Lumina, and it's not looking very good. I can bring this into where you can see my face, but now the background has blown out, and it's not very good. I would assume we're going to get a similar effect. Oops. With the Mevo. Let me just check that real quickly here. Let me go into some settings on this one has a specific thing for backlight, so let's hit that. So that's the backlight setting. Again, not that impressive. And that's the backlight setting. If I zoom in, that's as much as I've zoomed in. Again, not that impressive. So I'd have to say they both kind of, well, I will say this, the controls seem to be locking up on the Mevo right. Remember I talked about how it's fidgety? This is part of the fidgetiness. Like now I can't, there we go. Now I can zoom back out a little bit here. Okay, so with the backlight function, oops, sorry here. Going into the face setting, hitting the filter, going into backlight. I'm probably maybe a little bit better, but not much. I mean, this thing here, once again, I'm blown out. If we go back to auto, it's pretty bad on the Lumina. And there are no preset, like, you know, back balance or anything like that. So I don't know how I feel about either one. The white balance, I can change this up to the natural lighting, which would be right around there. Still not actually as good as I would think it should be. So honestly, neither one of them do what they say it's going to do on the website in terms of how bad it is or how good it is. But I will say, I think probably the Mevo did a better job than the Lumina with regard to the background light, just because there is more settings available here. Going down to a few more settings. That's full back on that one. Let me go back to the full field of view on this one. In fact, just try to keep it as, as apples to apples here. I'm trying to zoom this one in to roughly the same size. Similar. It looks not that great, quite frankly. Yeah, I'm not really pleased with either, but to be fair, this is a horrible condition, right? I don't have any lights on in here. I just have the backlight. So now, let me go turn the office lights on and let's see what happens there. So now, I'm gonna light my face up. So now I look at the Lumina and I do see a lot of blue in the sky. It looks much better. Let me zoom in on the field of view and just get the window in there. And then let me do the same thing for the Mevo. And now it's a little bit better on both. I think now it looks like the Lumina might be doing better than the Mevo. Let me go back and see if we're on the, once again, now the controls are kind of locked up again for the Mevo. So you're starting to see its fidgetiness. Now let's go to the all too important testing the virtual backdrop that you people love so much on Zoom, but you really should watch my video on the 10 top worst backdrops for Zoom and learn a little bit more about why it's so bad. But nonetheless, let's go and switch the cameras again, and let's put you on a virtual backdrop on Zoom and see what happens. All right, after I got all of the recording done on the iMac, the Lumina, the Mevo on Zoom with the fake backgrounds and all that crap, I realized I forgot to hit record. A week later now, I'm going to edit the video and I realize I have to reshoot this. So I'm back in the studio with shorter hair because I just got it trimmed today. And we're going to do this all over again. So I am currently right now on the iMac and I guess we can, I don't even know how to do the background here. Background filters on Zoom. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to start with the blur function first. Here's the blur function, although I think function is probably a better word for it. Here's the blur function on Zoom with the iMac. I'm going to reach my hands out. I'm going to move them. You can see there's a little bit of weirdness. You can kind of see between the fingers. If you got long hair, you can kind of see what's back there. Honestly, I hate these fake backgrounds. Let's see here. Let's give you an image. There we go. There's another image. Please don't do fake backgrounds. Just clean what's behind you and just have a normal life. But nonetheless, I know people love these backgrounds, so that's fine. All right, so here's the iMac. We're done. Let's take that off. Oh, no, there we go. All right, we're back to normal. Now I'm going to switch up to the Lumina. Actually, no, I'm going to go to the Mevo because I've got 7% of the battery left on the Mevo. So we're going to switch over to that one now. So now I'm in the Mevo. This is, once again, default, no adjustments whatsoever. We're going to come back into the background refresh. We're going to hit the blur, see how well this does. I'm going to wave my hands. You can see there's still that same kind of pixelation crap. It doesn't do bad. I'd have to say it's no worse or better than the iMac, Actually, I'd say probably actually a little bit worse than the iMac. It's looking, when you start moving, you can kind of see it kind of disappearing and cutting out on the sides. I don't know. I think it looks horrible. There's back to the blur. The blur is the important one because Lumina, we'll get to that in a second, does it automatically. So you don't even need the zoom background for that one. Because remember, it's advertised as a DSLR quality camera. Anyway, let's, okay, so there's the Mevo with the blurry background. And now let's get off of Mevo and let's go over to Lumina. So I'm going to go to Lumina Camera Plus because that's what does the zoom background. The audio is set for Lumina. The background filters are off, but now I come over here and now I can control the blur. You can see the blur starts to background. So that's the maximum blur. And then this is no blur. There we go. All right, so let's go to the maximum amount of blur. You can move around. You know what? I want to say it's probably, I'd say it's better than Zoom, but like look, you can see right here, it's kind of, it's having a hard time keeping up. If you go really slow or you don't do a lot of movement, the Lumina blur function probably looks better than the zoom function. So if you're really into that funky blur background, I guess. What happens if you add a filter on zoom? Okay, so now I'm using the filter on Lumina. Oh, it just looks so bad with all the weird halos around the edges and stuff. Honestly, it looks like some kind of, I don't know, just don't do it. All right, so we're going to take the background off. That's Lumina Raw. Let's compare the Lumina. No, that was Lumina Plus. Now let's go to Lumina Raw, which doesn't have the blur function. So now you can see that that is off. I'm adjusting it and it's not doing anything. But we can now go over to the zoom backgrounds and filters, and we can turn on the zoom blur. I don't know that it's really much different. I think it's probably pretty much the same. No, I'd have to say it's worse. So if you're going to use the blur background with the Lumina camera, use the Lumina function, not the zoom function. But don't do it. Actually, I take, you know what? Let me take that back. If you're going to do it and make it subtle, right? So like come over here, hit the plus, but don't try to blur it for the purpose of disguising and hiding all of the messy clothes in your bedroom. Just do it to make it a cool effect, right? So just have, let's see if I can set it here. Background, make sure that's turned off for zoom. Video is on Lumina Plus. All right, here we go. Turning that on. So yeah, if you're gonna do it, don't like go like this to where you're trying to hide what's in the background. Just keep it kind of subtle, right? You know, like tease a little bit. That's not bad. And then you don't even get a lot of you don't get a lot of the weird haloing effect. That's not bad, right? So then it's kind of got that cool DSLR quality on a camera, but it's clearly not DSLR. But that's not horrible. I don't mind that, right? That's a little bit classy. So there we go. There's my opinion of the Lumina. All right, I'm gonna, on my closing thoughts, I'm gonna go back to the iMac microphone and the iMac camera. So, oh, little cameo appearance with my dog there. All right, so overall, compare them. Who gets the rating? Who gets the win? If I were to look at this, I'd say pound for pound, I'd have to say that I think the Mevo camera is better than the Lumina. I like the functionality. I love all of the different options that you have with regard to, I don't know why I have to hold that up. I'm doing a screen recording. I can show you this. I love the ability to kind of zoom in nice and subtle and smooth. I think that's cool. Actually, I'm not demonstrating that right now because I'm on the iMac, but I love the ability to zoom in and zoom out. I love that you can program various different scenes. I love that you can have all of these different settings with regard to, oops, sorry, with regard to color and brightness and all of that. I think it's great. And I would really love to actually use like all 3 cameras and do a live stream just to see what that's like, I think that'd be really cool. I'm this close to actually buying the 2 more Mevo cameras for that purpose, because I think they do a really good job and the quality's there. The sound, I think, is amazing on their microphones. But I don't want to shut out the Lumina altogether. I think it really boils down to what is your budget, right? If you have the budget and you can spend more money, I say the Mevo all day. But if you're budget conscious and you're looking for how can you get a nice high quality webcam for a reasonable or a cheap amount, then go for the Lumina, right? It's only $200. It's literally, it's half the cost of the Mevo. But once again, please don't confuse price for value. For me, I think the value is with the Mevo. I really do. Yeah, there we go. That being said, by the way, maybe you're just sick of all of this and you just want to hire somebody to do it. Listen, if that's the case and you're in the Tampa Bay area, I'd love to have you come by, take a tour of our studio, see the cameras that we use when we do our broadcast, and maybe there's a way that we can help you with your production needs. But there, thanks so much for taking an obscene amount of time to watch this whole video. Hopefully you watch this on 1.5, if not 2 speed. Bye. Let's all try a little harder to be a little better. Bye.